Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Dao, Chapter 1127, Chapter A scoff echoed within Ling Han's heart, sharp and incredulous. How utterly unrestrained. You are a sovereign empress. How can your will be so fragile? Yet even as he rebuked her in his thoughts, his heartbeat thundered like war drums within his chest. Before him stood a woman whose beauty defied reason. Her figure alone, even when unseen in full, had long haunted his imagination, surfacing unbidden in quiet moments. And now she revealed her true face, her true self, casting aside all restraint as she threw herself into his arms without hesitation. How could any man resist such temptation? Ling Han tried. He truly tried. Yet in that moment of chaos, his hands betrayed him once more, instinctively reaching forward and grasping her soft, full chest. Damn it, why did my hands go there? It must be because it's too obvious a target. I didn't even think. His thoughts spiraled as sensation overwhelmed him. So large, so firm, so soft, so lively. He swallowed hard, his throat dry as if scorched by flame. This time, there was no illusion, only undeniable reality, pressing against his senses. But suddenly, he shook his head violently, forcing clarity into his mind. This is not the time. Rip, fabric tore. The Empress, her restraint completely shattered, began tearing apart his garments with fervent urgency. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Cursing inwardly, Ling Han's figure flickered like a phantom and vanished. Within an instant, he had retreated into the Black Tower. Outside, Empress Luanxing froze, her eyes clouded, her movements sluggish under the lingering influence of overwhelming desire. Her arms, which had once held Ling Han tightly, now grasped at emptiness. Huh? An aged voice echoed through the space once more. A spatial god tool? Impossible. Even if he hid within one, the artifact itself should not have disappeared. Inside the Black Tower, Ling Han's expression darkened. As expected, that old monster never truly left. Yet before long, his frustration turned inward. He raised his hand, nearly striking his own face. A peerless beauty had willingly surrendered herself to him, and he had fled? Did he truly feel nothing for Empress Luanxing? No, that was a lie he could not tell even himself. Her charm transcended reason. Each time he saw her, his heart stirred uncontrollably. And yet, when faced with the moment, he had retreated like a coward. He clenched his fists. I'm not a saint. I desire her. But if I take her like that, I will regret it. His thoughts deepened, growing solemn. My path is cultivation. To ascend to the peak, my mind must remain flawless. If I harbor guilt, if I carry shadows in my heart, it will hinder my comprehension of the heavenly Tao. It may even cost me my life. He exhaled slowly. My principle is a clear conscience, and this is a line I cannot cross. With that realization, his restless emotions gradually settled, like waves returning to still waters. It was for this very reason that he chose to reveal the Black Tower's existence rather than succumb to desire. At that moment, a small figure appeared beside him. The small tower. You can inform that individual, it said calmly, that I possess a method to reincarnate him. Ling Han blinked, stunned. Then fury erupted. Why didn't you say that earlier? He had been trapped here for nearly 2 years. Small Tower replied indifferently. First, you did not ask. Second, you never entered the Black Tower. I assumed you were enjoying your time with that Empress and had no intention of leaving. Ling Han's lips twitched. This guy? Yet as the words sank in, he fell silent. For 2 entire years, he had remained unusually obedient, lingering here without urgency. Was it because of her? His eyes widened slightly. The Empress's charm had influenced him so deeply that he hadn't even realized it. Drawing in a breath, he steadied himself. That old senior only has a fragment of his soul left. He even refined his own divine sense, bringing himself to the brink of extinction. And you're saying you can still save him? Correct, Small Tower answered plainly. The reincarnation tree can preserve the final remnants of his soul. Furthermore, once you unlock the next layer of the Black Tower, he can harness the power of the 5 elements to forge a 5-element body. Ling Han's eyes lit up. A 5-element body? That sounds formidable. Indeed, Small Tower continued, but inform him clearly, this act defies the heavens. His immortal tribulation will occur 10-fold more frequently. Immortal tribulation? Ling Han asked instinctively. Small Tower snorted. Am I obligated to answer all your questions? No. Then, without waiting, it added, do not waste my time. I must continue repairing the Black Tower. If not for the necessity of your growth, I wouldn't bother speaking to you at all. It sighed. What a troublesome master, everything falls upon me. Its form gradually faded, vanishing into nothingness. Linghan stared at the empty space, speechless. Have you ever treated me like your master? Shaking his head, he regained focus. Shoo! His figure flashed once more as he exited the black tower. Immediately. A soft, intoxicating moan reached his ears. Before he could react, Empress Luanxing pulled him tightly into her embrace again. This time, however, things were different. Her divine patterns were active. Her martial intent surged forth like invisible chains, binding him completely. He could no longer escape. Linghan's expression changed as he shouted urgently, Senior, don't you seek revenge? Don't you wish to return to the Genesis tier? You saw it just now. I possess extraordinary secrets. I can help you forge a 5-element body. But you must endure immortal tribulation 10 times more frequently. What? Shock filled the ancient voice. Boy, is what you say true? Emotion surged within the notionless saint's tone. If he could live, if he could reclaim his strength, if he could personally enact revenge, why would he resign himself to refining his cultivation for another? Of course it's true, Linghan shouted. Release her technique first. Heh, you are quite the peculiar young man, the notionless saint mused. Very well, I shall hear your proposal. Pa! In an instant, Empress Luanxing froze. All strength drained from her body, she collapsed softly into Linghan's lap. Freed from struggle, Linghan suddenly became acutely aware of her presence. Her warmth, her softness, her supple form resting against him. His throat tightened. Desire surged once more, fierce and primal. At that moment, a thought surfaced unbidden. A wife was inferior to a concubine. A concubine was inferior to a lover. And a lover, once unattainable, was far more alluring than one easily obtained. He had rejected her when she offered herself freely. Now, with the moment past, his heart burned with restless longing. Clenching his teeth, Linghan drew in a deep breath, summoning every ounce of willpower. Carefully, he set her aside. Senior, he said firmly, I will bring you somewhere. Do not resist. Humph. I can forge spatial god tools myself. Naturally, I understand such matters, the notionless saint replied. However, my soul has long been suppressed underground by the power of heaven. Once it emerges, only 2 paths remain, possess another body, or dissipate entirely. It cannot return below. His tone turned cold. You had best not deceive me, otherwise I will kill you before I fade. Linghan waved dismissively. Relax, I won't give you a reason to. Very well, I shall come out. At once, the towering pillars around them began to glow. A sphere of pure white light slowly floated into view. Linghan extended his divine sense, enveloping the radiant orb. Phew! In a flash, both he and the white sphere vanished and reappeared within the black tower. In the silent expanse within the black tower, a ripple of consciousness suddenly trembled like a startled wave upon a still lake. What? The cry rang out, not through voice, but through the subtle vibrations of divine sense. For the being who spoke had long since lost the fleshly vessel that once housed him. The existence known as Notionless Saint now existed only as a mass of radiant awareness, a white sphere of light drifting in the void. Yet the moment he fully perceived his surroundings, his calm shattered. Brat, how can the space inside your spatial god tool be so vast? His astonishment surged uncontrollably, as if his spirit itself might split from the shock. This is no mere storage space. It's practically a complete world. If he had still possessed a body, his limbs would have flailed wildly in disbelief. His heart would have pounded, his breath quickened, perhaps even collapsing under the overwhelming realization before him. Only now did Notionless Saint truly believe. Only now did he accept that Linghan might genuinely possess the means to grant him rebirth, to allow him to walk once more beneath the heavens. For he knew all too well the cruel truth of existence. To reincarnate through conventional means, one required the reincarnation flower, a treasure that bloomed but once every 10 billion years. Even for saints, beings who stood at the apex of existence, acquiring such a flower was no simple matter. Though their numbers were few, the immortal realm stretched boundlessly, and thus the number of saints was far from insignificant. The struggle for that single blossom was nothing short of brutal. Yet what lay before him now rendered such struggles insignificant. He himself could refine spatial god tools. But even at the peak of his craftsmanship, the space within them would reach no more than the size of an imperial palace. Should he attempt to push beyond that boundary, instability would arise, fractures would form, and the entire space would risk collapse at any moment. This was the limitation imposed by the path beyond the Genesis tier. Though all saints walked that same realm, the difference between the low extreme, the medium extreme, and the high extreme was like the distance between heaven and earth. Vast, insurmountable, eternal. And yet, this tool in Ling Han's possession had surpassed those limitations entirely. Ling Han calmly guided the drifting sphere of light deeper into the Black Tower, arriving before a towering ancient presence, the reincarnation tree. Its branches stretched outward like the arms of eternity, its aura ancient beyond comprehension. "Stay here," Ling Han said steadily. "Your divine sense won't wither in this place. On the contrary, it will be nourished. When my strength grows, I will gather the power of the 5 elements and help you forge a new body." The white sphere trembled as it wrapped itself gently around one of the tree's branches. For a moment, it stilled. Then, as if struck by lightning, it erupted with disbelief. "It's real! It's actually real! My divine sense, it's being nourished!" His voice quivered violently. Heavens, could this truly be a reincarnation tree? The comparison was immediate. Though the reincarnation flower was rare, it at least appeared once every 10 billion years, something that could be encountered within the span of 2 saint generations. But the reincarnation tree? That was a legend whispered in awe, a thing not belonging to this world. To reach maturity, it required 12 trillion years. 12 trillion years. Even the longest-lived saints could only gaze upon such a number in despair. Before such a lifespan, they were nothing more than fleeting sparks, junior existences beneath its shadow. Notionless Saint trembled as realization consumed him. "Brat, whose inheritance did you receive?" he asked, his tone heavy with awe. "Which Saint King's treasures have you obtained?" Within the Genesis tier, beings were divided into levels: small saints at the low extreme, medium saints at the middle, great saints at the high extreme, and at the very peak, Saint Kings. Though they all bore the title of saint, the gap between each level was so vast that it bordered on absolute separation. Most saints, even at the end of their lives, would never rise beyond the level of small saint. And notionless Saint himself was one such being. Before a Saint King, he was no different from an ant. Ling Han merely smiled faintly. "Senior," he asked casually, "are you satisfied with this place?" Yes, of course." The answer came without hesitation, overflowing with joy. For Notionless Saint, hope had been reignited. Revenge, once an impossible dream, now seemed within reach. Why rely on others when one could rise again with their own strength? Not only could he continue living, but he could even reclaim the cultivation he had lost. Such fortune. How could he not rejoice? Ling Han nodded. "In that case, can you let us out now?" "Of course," Notionless Saint agreed instantly, without the slightest reluctance. Ling Han paused, then asked another question. "Oh, right. What exactly is immortal tribulation?" The white sphere faltered. "You negotiated with me without even knowing that." Ling Han chuckled lightly. "There's a tool spirit within this god tool. It mentioned it. I only repeated what it said." Hearing this, Notionless Saint's confidence deepened further. People might lie, but spirit tools did not. After a brief silence, he began to explain. "Saints possess the ability to create new worlds," he said slowly. "But it is precisely because of this that we incur the jealousy of heaven. And thus, every 100 million years, we must face immortal tribulation." His tone grew solemn. "This is a curse from the heavens themselves. It manifests in many forms: great calamities, severe illnesses, heavenly tribulations, even misfortune in the form of assassins and unseen disasters. If you attempt to hide from it, the next tribulation that comes will be even more terrifying. And it never ends. It will continue again and again until the day you can no longer resist. And when that day comes, even if your lifespan has not yet ended, you will still perish." Ling Han listened, his expression gradually turning grave. "To survive, one must grow stronger without cease," Notionless Saint continued. "Immortal tribulation is like a whip, driving you forward, forcing you to advance." Ling Han's heart stirred. Saints, those seemingly invincible beings, were in truth bound by such merciless shackles. No wonder their numbers were so few. Advancing even a single step after becoming a saint was as difficult as defying the heavens themselves. And yet, every 100 million years, the tribulation would descend, whether one had grown stronger or not. If one stagnated, perhaps luck might allow them to survive once. But the next time, death would be inevitable. Cultivation, Notionless Saint said, voice heavy with truth, is like rowing against a current. If you do not advance, you will be pushed backward. And if you are pushed backward, death is your only end. Ling Han nodded slowly. If you reconstruct your body using the 5 elements, he said, you'll face immortal tribulation once every 10 million years. That, Notionless Saint replied with confidence, is a concern for the future. I have already endured several immortal tribulations before. The early ones will not threaten me. His voice sharpened with resolve. I have already walked the path of a saint once. When I return to that realm again, and after cultivating for tens of millions of years, I will personally slaughter those traitorous disciples. Ling Han understood. Though the frequency of tribulation would increase tenfold, 10 million years was still an immense span. Compared to his own lifespan, less than 50 years in this life and barely 200 in his previous one, such a time span was unimaginable. All right, Senior, Ling Han said. Let's go out first. With that, he exited the Black Tower, bringing Notionless Saint with him. Everything had unfolded more smoothly than he had expected. He had only retreated into the Black Tower to avoid harming Empress Luanxing. Yet in doing so, he had exposed one of his greatest secrets. And from that, he had gained the allegiance of a saint. Notionless Saint would cultivate his divine sense within the tower, and in return, it was only natural that he would aid Ling Han. As Ling Han emerged, his gaze fell upon Empress Luanxing. She stood alone. Still, a faint, indescribable loneliness lingered around her, like a solitary figure beneath a vast, empty sky. It stirred an instinctive urge in one's heart to step forward, to embrace her, to free her from that silent isolation. Her charm was overwhelming. Ling Han coughed lightly, steadying his thoughts. Your Majesty, he said, will be able to leave soon. Empress Luanxing looked at him. Her eyes were filled with complexity, like a storm of thoughts swirling beneath calm waters. Earlier, she had already suppressed that fleeting thought within her heart and resolved to kill him. Yet fate had twisted unexpectedly. Her cultivation had been suppressed, leaving her weaker than him. And yet, he had not taken advantage of her. Not once. Given her beauty, her status, she knew better than anyone how irresistible she was. But what weighed most heavily upon her heart were the events that had just transpired. Under the manipulation of a saint, she had lost control. Reduced to instinct, like a beast overcome by heat, she had thrown herself at Ling Han, even forced him down. And yet, he had resisted. Even under such temptation, was there something wrong with him? Impossible. She had felt it herself. That fierce, unrestrained presence, his weapon, had been alive with desire, ready to strike. His eyes had revealed the truth. There had been no lack of lust within him. And still, he had restrained himself. He had chosen instead to reveal the secret of his spatial god tool, all to protect her purity. For the first time, the Empress felt her heart stir. She was moved.